NERDSoul.
Late LK at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. Yes, that's right. We are here for another wonderful episode of Dope Folks, and I am joined by NERDSoul. Like, say hey. That's right. So we are ready to get down, have a good time. We have been talking to some great creators, and I'm joined to one by my metaphysical right, who is an awesome writer, an awesome person. I met him through Jason Reeves, maybe, I can't remember. But Robert Jeffrey, what's up?
What's going on, man? What's going on, Mike? Hello, man.
Yeah, because I can't remember where we met or how we met, but yeah, something like that. Something to that extent. Or maybe through reviewing one of your books or something like that. But
it might have been Route 3. Route 3.
Oh, yeah, which I want to get into. There's 3 main books of yours I want to get into. But before we get started, tell the people what you do.
Yeah. I'm a comic book writer. And also I work as editor-in-chief for blacksci-fi.com. So, I always say I'm a jack of all trades when it comes to writing, comic books, prose, background in journalism, and even a graduate of DC Comics' New Talent Workshop back in 2017. So I've done a little bit of everything.
Cool. Now, when it comes to saying like you're a comic book writer, to you, what does that mean? Because there's a lot of people that, they're like, hey, I'm a comic book writer, but I don't mess with the, like monthlies or something like that. So for you, what does a comic book writer mean when you say that?
It's I definitely consider myself to be a storyteller. Using the medium of comic books to bring these stories to life. So, like I said, I have a background in prose. I love, writing, just kind of long novellas or short stories or whatever. But with comics, it's cool because you're able to apply the visual to the wordplay. I know that's an oversimplification of the definition, but that seems to be kind of the let's say arena of storytelling that I've kind of fallen into and I love doing. One of the most awesome things about comics is that you have no I'm trying to think of the right word, hindrances, or you don't have to worry about a budget. So wherever your imagination can lead you, you can tell whatever stories you want. So that's just kind of that's why I love comics. That's why I love comic book writing.
Good. And to speak to that, I had a conversation with Brandon Easton where he was saying in comics, like, there is no budget. You can blow up the world, 4 or 5 times if you want. And television is a very, very strict, very strict amount of budgetary concerns. So when you speak of prose, for those that don't know, like myself fully, what is prose?
Prose is like a novel, novella, short stories. You go to, I was about to say B. Dalton. I'm showing my age. If you go to Barnes & Noble, if you go to Books A Million, everything lining that shelf is prose. That's so I always try to, if I'm trying to decipher, kind of between what I write, prose and then comic books. Prose doesn't have pictures, so actually in some cases it does, but it's not as much as a comic book. But and actually I would love to get back into doing prose, doing more of that. So.
Cool. So you have a couple of books that you have written, a couple of books that I've reviewed. I think the first book of yours that I reviewed that I'd like to get into is Route 3. If you could introduce Route 3 and talk about what Route 3 is. Yeah,
and I always show off the awesome cover to see artwork. Yeah, Route 3 is, I call it a superhuman arms race across the Southeast. And, that's the basic elevator pitch. And it's about a kid from Stone Mountain who finds out he has these awesome set of abilities that he doesn't know anything about. And the people that do, know about, these world changing, powers or abilities, they want to use him for their own kind of selfish goals, or non-altruistic goals. So this kid is, like I say, he's caught in the middle of this, super powered arms race, and all he's pretty much worried about is how to even cope with like the passing of his mother, who just died of cancer. So it's it's definitely a fish out of water story. It's not your typical superhero story where he's going out to fight crime and save the day. And I'm a huge fan of stories that take place on the road. So it's it's a big I guess road chase, whatever. So cross country, at least across the South.
And that's one thing that I did like, is that the fact that it took place in the Southeast, where it's just I guess you could say it's a place that's rarely touched when it comes to when it comes to just those kind of adventure stories, those kind of comic epics or whatever, where usually we want to do it in a large city. And in this case, it's not that there aren't cities there, but the Southeast is usually, when you think of like Atlanta, South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, whatever, stuff like that, you start thinking about the Southeast and you're like, oh, comics doesn't come to mind. And I like the fact that you like kind of went to that backdrop to set your story up, and thought it was pretty cool. And
Thank you,
of course, a fun read, some cool art. But you have another book that I wanted to get your take on, which is I guess I'll do. Should I do? I think I'll do this one first. Mind to Avenge.
Okay.
What is Mind to Avenge for those that don't know?
Yeah. So Mind to Avenge. I'm giving all the elevator pitches. It's when is righteous revenge righteous? So there's the Mind to Avenge focuses on a couple by the name of the Lawleries, and they're actually based on actual people, an actual couple. And back in the 1830s, or I think it's 1830s, 1840s, they were a slave-owning couple of some renown in the city. And, slavery is already a despicable, horrible practice, but they were psychopaths. And, took it to the nth degree of actually torturing their slaves, they're the people that they own. And in my story, and in real life, they got away with their crimes, and the wife actually got away. So in my story, I tell the story of a girl that escaped, their clutches, or their, from the home, and she created an organization called the Retribution Cabal, and dedicated her life to basically killing and destroying and maiming, the things that go bump in the night. So and the Lawleries have popped up on the cyberpunk kind of future, like the 2100s, and the Retribution Cabal is kind of broken and fractured, but they have to come back and take it to the Lawleries again. So it's kind of a century-spanning sci-fi horror, story, sci-fi story.
Yes,
whatever.
And it's a lot of fun to read. It's very different, and the reason I wanted to bring these two up first is in Route 3 and in this book, you have two heroes, but they're approached very differently.
Right.
Which one do you prefer writing? And also talk about, especially for people that are interested in writing or that are writing now, talk about the differences of writing those lifestyles, those perspectives, and those kind of like motivations.
Okay, so choosing between Sean Anderson, the hero of Route 3, and Layla, the protagonist of Mind to Avenge, is like choosing my favorite child at this point. And so one of the things, and I think it kind of ties into your second question, with writing each character, what I love about each are their differences. Kind of their motivations, their focus, for saving the day or not saving the day. It's just fun to write. One of the things that I always tell writers is, try to do as much as you can, in terms of writing within different genres, with different characters, different experiences. Do your homework, as much as possible, because for me, writing a superhero story like all the time, it'll be fun, but it gets kind of boring for me. So one of the things that you can clock, when it comes to my career, is that I hop between genres a lot. It seems like now my focus is now on sci-fi, but even within the science fiction realm, I'm doing different things. Time travel, sci-fi action. Exactly. So different subgenres. So as a writer, and one of the ways that you make yourself marketable within this industry is that you have to show that you can do just about anything. So that's one, because I like to eat and I like keeping a roof over my head. So I have to show different publishers, that this is what I can do. So, in the characters of Sean and Layla, Sean is, they've suffered, well, he's more so suffered a tragedy in, experiencing the death of his mom. That is not his catalyst or his motivation for going out and kicking butt. Survival is the name of the game for him. For Layla, she doesn't want anything to do with the Retribution Cabal, even though their sole is saving specifically Black folks from the things that go bump in the night. And she has a back history with I call it the RC. So her feelings are somewhat justified. So even then, their motivations are completely different. But for me, writing both of these characters has been one of the most fun experiences that I've ever had, when it came to comic books. I mean, for me, it's on par with, like I told you, I've done some work for DC. I wrote John Stewart. Mm-hmm. Sean Anderson and Layla are right up there with John Stewart for me as far as crafting their story. So, and I know some people are like, that's sacrilegious.
No, Layla's dope, man. Like, especially because I'm a supernatural horror, supernatural action guy. Mm-hmm. So when I got into Mind to Avenge, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
Thanks.
Because you have this beef between like vampire factions and all this weird stuff going on with slavery, and you find out they're not regular people, and then you got like these cleric type dudes from, I guess, Catholics or something. Then you in the future, and the girl like, ain't my thing, and they like, no, man, you and Neo, yo, we need you. She like, nah, I'm cool. And and
she said y'all could kick rocks. So,
and I mean, of course, it's one of those things where it's like she keeps saying no, but the life is going to drag her back in. But it's interesting how it's displayed and how she's portrayed, and then matched against the art. I just really dug that series, and we'll circle back to that as well. Yeah. But I wanted to get on to a third one, which is RetCon.
RetCon.
RetCon's a book. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. No. Say what you're gonna say, man.
Cool. RetCon's a book that I think Jason introduced me to, and I didn't even know you were involved in it at the time. But then he told me you were involved, and it was almost immediate. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like I knew the book would be okay. Like, like once he said your name, I was like, oh, all right, it'll be fine. Like, because I think at the time he was telling me about it, the book wasn't finished. So, but when he said you were involved, I was like, it'll be all right. It's just because, of course, you've laid that groundwork with Route 3 that I enjoy. This like kid on the run. And then also having Mind to Avenge that really, hit the spot for like, Shadow Man, kind of like Ghost Rider, those kind of characters where it's like we get into that super. So I'm like, oh yeah, he knows what he's doing, so I don't have to. Like, yeah, that book will be fine. But for those that don't know about RetCon, what's your, I guess, what was your involvement in RetCon? And how did you start it? And what does it look like from your end as you're working on it?
So, when I when I came out of the workshop, Jason Jason Reeves of 133 Art was one of those publishers that reached out to me and said, "Hey, you want to do some stuff?" And that he kind of, Jason. Jason is just like, "Hey, you want to work?" So
yeah, Jason is very straightforward and like, look, you want to work or not?
Yeah, Jason doesn't play any games, and I love that about him and Kimmy of 133 Art. So he reached out, said he had a series, an Afrofuturist time travel series, and I wish you could see on my camera, like I have Back to the Future poster framed to my right, and time travel is something that I love, going back to the Future. So when he said that, I was like, awesome. At first, I think, and this is right, he brought me in to edit what had been done and also to do a little bit of writing. But as I read the scripts that had been done and looking at the outline and the framework, I just said, Jason, can I be the writer on this? So I can, because there was a lot there that I felt that we can definitely kind of expand on and just kind of build and build and build. And that's how I was brought on as the series writer. So from there, this is the brainchild of Jason himself. So I'm kind of the hired gun in this case. The world has already been laid out. It's just like coming in on any series that's already been established by a publisher. And I'm just being brought in to kind of help, kind of shape it and form it into something, that readers will love, or enjoy. That's kind of how I, came on board for RetCon.
All right, great. Now, there is, I got, love for your work, and a lot of people, enjoy your work. You have run you've been involved with some very successful Kickstarters. Mind to Avenge being one of them. There is some controversy around it when it comes to kind of the releases of it, the Kickstarter of it all, the publisher of it. Could you speak to any of that and kind of what the process has been, what the atmosphere has been like dealing with trying to put your own book out?
So, Mind to Avenge is currently we kickstarted, or the publisher kickstarted the third issue back in, I think it was December. Might have been December. So that was the last Kickstarter that we had, and there was originally a release date for March of this year for the third issue to be released, and that has now been pushed back by the publisher to April, this month that we're in currently. And I found out from my art team that is not going to be the case. The book has been once again pushed back to now May or June. And so my frustration with that now is the backers have paid for something that they are expecting to get on time, or at least to get updates on a regular basis, that they are not going to be able to receive these rewards in a timely fashion. That is not coming from the publisher. That is, and as far as I'll take it back a little bit further, but the only way that I'm getting updates now about my Create Your Own series is from my art team. And part of that reason being is that back in a couple of months ago, actually January, because it was the month of my birthday, in January, I decided to end my relationship with Evolution Publishing, not Mind to Avenge. Let me say this again. I ended my relationship with Evolution Publishing and Marcel Dupree. I did not end my relationship with the series that I created, Mind to Avenge, because there's been some discrepancy there at least from feedback that I've gotten from people. The reason I ended my relationship with the publisher is that it became toxic. It just really did. And I've been in this industry too long to continuously have to deal with actions or inactions that are going to be detrimental to me as a creator and just me as a human being. So that's why I stepped away from the publisher. I'm still getting reports are basically direct messages from friends, from people who only know me for my work, who still have not received their rewards from, at this point, it's going to be like a year and a half to 2 years ago, for the first Kickstarter that we did, for the second Kickstarter that we did, for the third Kickstarter that we did. And these are, even outside of like family and friends, and people that I know, I know Mind to Avenge has brought in like a new reader base specifically for my work, and to have a continuous stream of people saying that they never received their stuff, they didn't receive their stuff on time, they can't get responses back from the publisher, this, that, is very frustrating to me. So that's kind of where things are at right now. The last I heard from my artist for Mind to Avenge, Matteo Illuminati, the 11 pages that he did for the third issue of Mind to Avenge have not been paid for. He did those, to help us out with the Kickstarter and to help promote the Kickstarter, but he has not been paid for that. And the money that was raised for our Kickstarter, as far as I know, should have been used to pay him, in addition to getting these books out on time. My experience with Kickstarter personally, with Route 3, and it's the only Kickstarter that I've run personally myself. If there was ever a delay for anything, if it was by my hand or at the hand of the printer, which actually was, we were on top of that. And one of the things that I always say with Kickstarter is that you cannot take people's trust for granted. When you do that continuously, it comes to bite you in the ass. And this is one of the things that myself and other creators constantly told the publisher, that you can't keep doing what you're doing in the way that you're doing it, because it's going to come back around and bite you in the ass. So after kind of years of kind of dealing with this and trying to be a voice of reason and trying to, give some feedback, and I'll admit it, because I know Marcel will come back and say, well, you yelled and screamed at me. There were heated arguments. There are arguments where I cursed them out, but it was never, based on information or feedback.
And
it wasn't based on like.
And I guess also you could say that yelling and screaming isn't justification to not fulfill a contractual obligation, or fulfill Kickstarter obligations. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And one of the reasons I bring that up specifically is because I've been doing this I graduated from college in 2005. I started freelance writing for the Atlanta Voice newspaper that year or 2006. So give or take some, I don't do math too well, so maybe like 15, 16 years. I've been freelance writing for 15 to 16 years. And I take my career seriously. So I try to, conduct myself in a professional manner and, do the work on time, for a good rate and treat people how I want to be treated. What I've seen, and people have come directly to me and send me screenshots of this guy going in on me ever since that I made the decision to step away from his publishing company. That when I talk about the toxic nature of the publisher, of Marcel, that's what I mean. That's the reason why I stepped away, that in a number of reasons. But since I decided to do that, it's been nothing but, like I said, I can, getting heads up from people that this dude is going in on you. And the reason I haven't responded like I want to is because my concern has been that the third issue will be further delayed because of me saying anything about the situation. My concern right now is the backers. My concern is that people who have paid for this product getting their product in a timely fashion. That's it for me. As far as the publisher himself, I don't care about him, and I'm just being very straight up, being very straight up and forward. But the backers who put their money towards Mind to Avenge 3 deserve better. That's where I'm coming from. So my decision to step away from Evolution Publishing should have no effect on people who have already given that money, and that Kickstarter has pushed that money to that publisher to have the book done. So that's been my biggest concern with being kind of vocal, about this, because I don't know how many more months the production on this book is going to get pushed back. In addition to that, it would be nice to have my artist get paid, for the work that he did for the 11 pages. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And I know, without getting, too far into specifics, that's where the situation is at with Mind to Avenge. The third issue script is done. The pages are ready. The 11 pages are ready to be colored and lettered. Mateo and Loris are ready to go as soon as they get the word. But that's the only update that I have on the third issue. And at this point, I was told directly, and actually I can tell a couple of things. When I made the decision to step away from Evolution Publishing, I was told by my publisher that, okay, well, I guess we'll have to introduce a sidekick or a pet for Layla so that it can differentiate the series from what I'm doing. So that was done as a swipe at me. The second thing was like, why introduce a pet into this universe? Or so anyways, so the second thing was, I've been informed that I in no way am going to receive any updates about production on issue 3 because I stepped away from Evolution Publishing. So the only way I can get updates at this point are from my art team, and that's unfortunate. So, but I'm kind of at a point in my life, at 38 years old, that for my mental health and for my career, I gotta take a step away from toxic stuff. And I've tried to be as polite about this as possible. But this is the only, like I said, I'm kind of done with it, and that's why I stepped away. So.
Okay. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel for people that have backed the third issue? Or is there any light in the tunnel for you being able to move forward with Mind to Avenge, since it is a creator-owned project, at all? Due to, kind of like when you have issues of like breach of contract, when you have issues, or is there an issue or availability for mediation at all to kind of get this? And I know when you have to have mediation, that's a whole nother thing. But is there a way to, should we be out there with like free Mind to Avenge t-shirts? What do we have to do to get this book out? Well, no. Not only to get this book out, but to get this book out and back in the hands of the person that made it what it is. What can we do as backers, as listeners, as watchers, as readers, to get this to the point where you're able to finish your story? So, first and foremost, with Kicks, the immediate concern right now is the third issue. So what I've tried my best to do, because I no longer have access directly to the backers, because I was kicked out of that by the publisher, I can't send direct messages to all of the backers. I have no idea what names, what addresses, what email addresses are on there, because because before I left, I did send one final update to them explaining where things were at. And that was with the April delay, I think.
So what people can do if they have backed Mind to Avenge 3, and even if they haven't backed Mind to Avenge 3, they can reach out directly to the publisher. They can reach directly out to Marcel. Marcel is very open about reaching out to him on Twitter. He has no qualms about that. So, I mean, I have one friend in particular. It's become like an every other week thing for her to go on Twitter and ask about, where things are at with her book, with her shipments. So that's what I could ask people to do is, get in touch directly with Evolution Publishing, to ask them, where are my books? Why is the production being delayed at this point 4 months? Why hasn't half of the art team been paid? That's, so that's specifically for issue 3. For Mind to Avenge going forward, I'm still doing the book. So it doesn't stop with Evolution or Marcel, because outside of finding the art team for the book, which I'm grateful for because I love working with Mateo and Loris, he in no way contributed to the storyline, to the creation of the characters, to the creation of anything when it comes to that, when it comes to Mind to Avenge as a property. So that's where I'm at with that. So the story will continue, and I'm working on that. I'm just gonna say this. I'm working on that myself, to ensure that this will continue on, courtesy of yours truly, with the same art team. And I'm not slowing down for this. Issue 3, directly reach out to him, and also reach out to Kickstarter. Ask why there aren't any. Reach out to both of them, and just ask why. Because, like I said, outside of the updates that I get from my team, and the rare instance that I can get Marcel to actually respond to my text, that's kind of where things are at right now. I don't know what's happening with my book, and that's very frustrating.
Yeah, so, and as a creator myself, it's frustrating to see this happen to someone that I know is working hard to put stories with us, about us, at the forefront, and in very unique and creative ways. And it is frustrating to see this happen, especially when someone you wouldn't immediately expect it to happen from. Because I don't want this to become a session where this is just all, negative. I do want, I do want this to be worked out, because I want us to see an unencumbered issue 3 that doesn't have any silly stuff added in that might be added in for the sake of being, I don't know, vindictive or petty or anything like that. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is to see the Mind to Avenge that has been created, and hopefully the Mind to Avenge that has been created and has been kind of supported by the Kickstarter backers and Indiegogo backers or whatever won't be betrayed by the publisher's involvement and I guess meddling after the fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I know my wife is tired of me talking about this. We've had this discussion. We've had this discussion about this Route 3. My creator-owned stuff is just, when it comes to, I'm a big proponent, and I've said this before, is that trust is key in this industry, especially as a indie creator, especially as a Black indie creator. You have to be, what was it that Papa Pope told Olivia Pope? We got to perform like 10 times better than anybody else or whatever, so that we can continue ahead in this industry. And when my name is associated with something that it takes 4 months to get back to people, there's a 4-month delay, that affects me. That affects any creator who is put in that position, and I'm not the first one when it comes to this publisher. So that's very it's very kind of hurtful when it comes to my career, but also it's you're destroying the trust that these people have put behind you and their product. I mean, it's like we're practicing customer service tool in a certain degree. Like if you don't, exactly, and it's just like one of the things I mentioned with the Route 3 Kickstarter was one of the issues that we had was apparently we got the books printed in China, and there was something to do with them being imported into the U.S. As soon as I heard about that delay, I sent that out to people. I didn't wait 2 months to say that these books were going to be delayed. And for me, that seems like a common sense approach, to say, hey, these books are going to be delayed for whatever reason, and I trust y'all enough to say that's not going to be an issue, or I respect y'all enough to say, hey, bring you the information so that you can understand why there's a delay with why the product that you paid for didn't come to you in enough time. Once again, to me, that seems like a common sense approach, when playing with people's money. The joke I always tell is that when I started shipping the books out, I was taking selfies of myself at the post office, as I shipped out the books. I was like, hey, this is me shipping out your books, and it's going out the same day. So you can't play with people's money. At the end of the day, that's a common sense approach. You can't play with people's money, and you can't keep making the same mistakes. And the fact, and I take it back to my artist has to eat. Mateo has to eat. He gets paid. And when I found out that he hadn't been paid for those 11 pages, which actually helped us to raise that money, that's a huge problem. So I know this is turning into kind of a rant session. I apologize.
No, because I do want to find understanding. It's not about trying to bash or anything, but it is trying to find, okay, this is a book people love. This is a book people gave money to. Why aren't they able to get their hands on the book? What is going on in the book? And not in a situation where this is all about gossip. This is more about, as much as we can say, the working sometimes of dealing with putting out your work. Because I'm not, because I've definitely received many reports about the publisher in general, behind the scenes. But I have never gone on and made a video about them, because that's not really what my channel is about. I'm here to find understanding, but I'm not here to do kind of a beef thing. That's not particularly what my aim is. But with that said, hopefully, go ahead.
No, the only thing that I guess I would hope from with bringing this out is that the books get to the backers. That's the thing. My obligation to Evolution Publishing after the 3rd issue is done. So, everything that I'm saying to you right now is based on my factual experience of working with this publisher, and how it led to my deciding to, I say for my mental health and for my professional, career, of stepping away from the publisher. And lastly, I want to ensure that the people who paid for these books, get their money. I mean, not get their money. Well, if they want to get their money back, yeah. But get their books back. Get their rewards. So that's the only thing. That's the only thing I'm hoping to kind of gain from even talking about this.
Okay. So I guess I'll leave it at that, and hopefully we'll be able to see that, and then we'll be able to see that chapter. Of course, you'll already be moving on with issue 4, but hopefully we'll be able to see that chapter as it was written, as it was expected to be produced.
Yeah, there's, and as far as the future of the story, fortunately, I haven't shared any more of the story with him, so that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. And everything's up here and everything is outlined for future issues. So the future of Mind to Avenge is quite bright. So, I mean, that's kind of where I sit with kind of the future of the story that I'm telling. So.
All right, cool. So with that, we'll table that and leave that, and hopefully, we can get something done. I've reached out for other people. I haven't gotten a response really, and then for those involved or those very interested, you can see an interview that the publisher has done recently. But outside of that, besides Mind to Avenge, is there anything on the horizon that you're looking to do that maybe you haven't touched on yet when it comes to writing?
Yeah. I mean, it's a few things. The first and foremost, we just did a Kickstarter for a series called The Crossing, and The Crossing is actually my third creator-owned series, and this one is my first creator-owned series with 133 Art. And my co-writer on that is John Robert McGuire. He's a co-creator, and he's a writer of a really good steampunk series called The Gilded Age. Everybody should check it out. And the artist on it is Sean Damian Hill, who is the series artist of Route 3. He's also the co-creator on The Crossing, and he also actually came off a very successful Kickstarter with David Walker for The Hate It, which is a Western. So as far as I'm concerned, we got a dream team, with it, but it's like Sliders meets Mission Impossible, so that's, so if you're familiar with, it's going to be it's a fun action series, action adventure series, and we successfully, within the midst of everything that's going on, within the pandemic, we hit our goal. And one of the things that I keep telling people, and you'll never be able to get me to stop saying this, thank y'all. Thank you so much, for backing us, for supporting us, because things are tight. Things are hella tight and hella stressful. And the fact that all of these hundreds of people stepped up to help us raise this money is not lost on us. So never lost on us. It's not lost on me, because otherwise I'd be writing Word documents and being like, this is the greatest thing that nobody ever see. So that's but that's the love that we have for this medium, and for the respect that these people have for us, for giving us their money. They can go, excuse my language, but they can go like to McDonald's and spend $5 on a crappy burger that's going to kill them in the long run. So thank you. So I'm sorry. I try to be as real as possible with these. And people's trust is like very. That's something that I hold. So especially when it comes to Kickstarter. The next thing that I worked on, there's actually a Kickstarter going for it now. It's I wrote a Western, just a Western for a prose anthology called 8 Gunshots. It's in its final days right now, but that's something that hopefully, if we can fund, that'll be something else that I can kind of add to the library. But it's racists getting killed and getting shot and killed in the Wild Wild West. So there's nothing more fun than that. The only other thing that I have right now that I can think of is, actually no, there's a couple of things. Kamikaze I don't know if you're familiar with the Kamikaze webcomic team. It's like Batman Beyond meets Mad Max. Yeah, you would love it. Yeah, so they did a Kickstarter in December to raise funds for an animated short and also for an anthology called Short Circuits. I contributed a short story to the anthology, drawn by the talented Takia Marie. Go to TakiaMarie.com. Yeah, Takia. Takia is a very, she's dope. She's an awesome friend, and this is like the first published collaboration that we've done together. So I'm really excited about that. So that hopefully should be dropping sometime this spring. And there are 2 unannounced projects one that I'm currently three of them actually. One prose for a pretty well-known indie comic book publisher. A second one, which is a reboot for a different publisher, of a reboot of a character for another publisher. And the last is a space opera series, which I've been wanting to write for kind of a while. You know, something like this I wanted to write for a while because my fandom is Star Trek. You know, so I love Star Trek, and then like second to that comes like Rocket from Icon of Rocket, and then third is X-Men. So those are my dream writing goals, and I even have my Starfleet Academy T-shirt on. So yeah, but the third one, it's not Star Trek, but it's a space opera kind of in the vein of that, and to get a chance to write that is a blessing. So those are the three things, unannounced things that I'm working on. Hopefully they shall be released this year.
Word up. Now, when it comes to Star Trek, question, have you been following Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard?
Yep.
All right. Yep. What are your thoughts on both of them? So,
one of the things that, as a Trek fan, that I realized that after Enterprise is that Paramount was going to, whoever, or CBS, whoever owned the rights, they were going to do what they felt that they needed to do to bring in a new kind of generation of audiences, but still kind of trying to keep to the core of what makes Star Trek Star Trek. So you get the Abrams verse, which is kind of more action adventure. You have a little tinge of that Star Trek in there, but it brought people to the theaters. It made people kind of talk about Star Trek again. It made my wife interested in Star Trek. So, secondly, I always felt that Star Trek's proper place was always on television. So when they made the announcement that it was going to be on the streaming network, I got very hyped because I knew that with this crop of writers and directors and producers, that this is a different day and age than when Star Trek was, from the 60s to the 80s to the 90s, and even the early 2000s. So whatever's happening in today's world, as with those various other Star Treks, is going to be involved in this, and kind of in whatever relaunches they do. Even the differences in storytelling. Like if Star Trek now is more serialized versus episodic. That began with Deep Space Nine, which was telling like serialized kind of storytelling, sort of like Battlestar Galactica, which was interesting because I'm getting really deep now with the geekiness. Ron Moore was the producer. Exactly. Yeah, and but you didn't necessarily, they weren't self-contained episodes. Most of them connected to the other, so you had to watch. So with all that said and done, I had a feeling that anything that was coming out was going to be not your daddy's Star Trek. It's not. And I know that it's really upset, and kind of pissed off a lot of people. And I do feel that there are some legitimate criticisms sometimes with the storytelling. I had a big issue with the last issue of, issue like it's a comic book, the last episode of Picard. But for me, I enjoyed the series. The same thing with Discovery. There's a moment in the second season where Michael Burnham meets a certain person, and as a black person watching that, I was just like, two of the most intelligent people in this room are black women. You never got that.
You can talk about that. I mean, it's
okay. Yes,
the season finale was almost a whole year ago.
Yeah, when she met her mom, spoiler, when she met her mom as the Red Angel, my mind just blew, because one of the greatest things that I always felt that Star Trek kind of brought to science fiction is a world that had gotten beyond the bullshit, at least on Earth. So our goal at that point was to expand further. Now, I'm not saying when we got into space, there was still the BS. Everything is not going to be a perfect utopia. That's not what's going to happen. But when it came to humanity, we were just okay, let's do better. Let's try to, expand our horizons. And just the idea of just kind of traveling across the cosmos has always been something that's fascinated me personally, because I want to get off this earth. But secondly, I I just love being taken to like completely different worlds and just kind of seeing how that tests, us as human beings. So that's always been Star Trek for me. So as far as seasons 1 and 2 of Discovery and Picard, I felt that they've done that, but they've done that within, this umbrella of new media that we're in right now. Everything, things are different. Things are not like when we were growing up watching Xena, Hercules, Highlander, all those shows where you probably would have a 2 or 3-parter which were connected. And now they're focused more on they're focused more on a binge culture, and also reflecting the world that we actually live in. We actually see a woman of color, leading the charge. We actually see LGBTQ representation, at the forefront, not as an afterthought. And in addition to that, telling a solid story. So no, I can talk
None
Star
of it
Trek
seems, at least, well, I'll say in Discovery, nothing seems like it's just here to check a box. Like Discovery has been, season 1 and 2 were solid. Like I said, 2019's best finale, even though it's a 2-parter, because this is, I'm gonna say something to try to help myself. Since it's a 2-parter, the best 2-part finale / of 2019 was Star Trek Discovery season 2, and then the best finale, just one episode was Watchmen. Watchmen was just Watchmen was just dumb last year, man.
I mean, we can. And that's another. I mean, that's another show. That's another show I can talk about. But yeah, like we and just kind of tying it into comic books. You get tired of not seeing yourself reflected. That's just how it is. Like, or you get tired. I personally got tired of seeing us as sidekicks, or as the humor, the humor aspect of whatever I'm reading, or just or not there. Period. For me, this kind of says something that first season of Star Trek, I'm seeing, Geordi LaForge, or I'm seeing a black man playing a Cleon on the bridge. That's kind of major. So when we have a black woman walking on water, I love it. In Watchmen and carrying that whole. Watchmen is another discussion in and of itself, but I think that Star Trek has been carrying the mantle as well as far as could be expected. And remember, every Star Trek series never had a great first season. If anybody says otherwise, you ain't a true Trek fan.
Well, I contend that Star Trek Discovery, I really like season 1. I know there was a lot of dissent out there, but see, also I'm not your classic Trek fan.
Right.
My mom loved Star Trek. I watched it kind of because she watched it.
Yeah.
Then I fell off because I got to the age where I wasn't forced to watch what she watched anymore. Right. And then I kind of came back in during Deep Space Nine and then fell off again. And then going back and watching some of the series on Netflix, I'm like, yeah, Deep Space Nine, at least for me, is where I'm at. Because I like serialized storytelling. But then I do like the Borg stuff from Next Generation because I like action. So I like a lot of the Borg stuff. But Discovery, once they go into the other side, the thing that I think I like most about Discovery in season 1 is I feel like you got these people that were kind of sort of friends and sort of a team, but by the end of season 1, they were, I know the jokes, but they were a family.
yeah, and that's always.
It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Yep. And that's why, in Picard, when he saw Riker and Troy, we're getting oh man, we get in the feels because that's a family. That's a family. Everybody has their Trek. You can have the original series, you can have Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. Discovery and now Picard, and you can have your favorite Trek and not like the other Trek, but you can't deny the franchise. I mean, the franchise, like I always say, like one of my bucket list goals is to write something within the Trek universe, comic book related. It could be a short story, it could be a miniseries. I mean, I'd be happy with whatever, but that's how much I love that franchise. My wife will tell you, I just did I think a 7th or 8th rewatch of Deep Space Nine. That's how much I love this. I mean, I love that show
all the way through, because that's not a short show.
No, I mean, that's how much I love it. Like I can.
Yo, shouts out to Cisco's shorts in the first episode, B.
Man,
shout out to them shorts.
Shout out to the shorts.
Joyce was.
But yeah,
I was like, because I remember going back and being like, yo, I do not remember this episode because, and even when I interviewed, I cannot remember his name, the showrunner, he was talking about like
Ira Stephen Bear.
Yeah, Ira. When I interviewed him, he was talking about how on TV they were kind of messed up because they weren't playing the episodes in order. Because of course, you were coming from something that wasn't serialized into something that now is, and they were just playing the episodes whenever. And he said that kind of hurt the show because at the time you had Enterprise going. I'm trying to remember, there were 2 series going on at once.
Voyager.
Yeah.
At first they were running in tandem with Next Generation, and then Voyager popped up.
Yeah, it was Voyager. Well, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. That's the one, yeah.
And when I watched it on Netflix, I'm like, I don't remember this episode. I don't remember this episode. I don't remember this. But of course, after interviewing him and talking to him behind the scenes, it's like, oh, they were just kind of like playing whatever. It was like, here's episode 3 from season 3. Here's episode 2 from season 1. Here's episode 15 from season 3. This is like, because when I watched, I was like, yo, I've never seen these shorts. But yeah, Deep Space Nine, I really dug it. Just in and out, and then seeing Discovery when they started talking about the people that were involved as far as writing, when they started talking about the actors and actresses, I was like, you know what, let me give this a shot. And I know there was outside hate, but I was like, let me check out this show. And I saw the first episode, and I'm like, yo, they're putting some money in this. They ain't making no whack stuff on this joint. Like, I can't think of a specific episode of Discovery yet where I'm like, nah, this is stupid. Or I was engaged. Now Picard, I've got my ups and downs on.
Yeah.
But like I said in my season review, I'm definitely, let's see where it goes. Because there's some stuff that I feel that the studio needs to get out of its system for the first season. Like, don't forget to put these people in. Don't forget, we got to remind them about this. It's like, so I figure, hey, there's certain things that just the studio wants to get out their system for season 1. So it's like, cool, we got that out the way. There were a lot of interactions or a lot of things where I'm like, well, why didn't we learn about this? Or why didn't y'all show us this? But now that that's out the way, hopefully in season 2 we can get those moments. Like in the end, you see Rafi with 7 of 9, and I'm like, and I'm like, did I miss an episode? Because
I talked to,
I was like, did I miss an episode? Because I don't remember them ever being like, girl, back in the day, you were so fine or something, or like, anything to like give me like, I'm like, yo, I'm cool, but you can't just drop this on me. I'm like, where did this come from?
That was one of the things. That was one of the things about the last episode, because I remember talking to my wife. I said, I don't remember that being even suggested, within the story. And it would have been nice.
I don't know if I missed something, but
yeah. That and the almost death was kind of frustrating for me, for as far as with Picard. Those are the only 2 things with that last episode.
And see, that's the tough thing, because with the almost death, kind of like I said in my review, is it's mixed with something about this season that I love. The almost I don't like almost deaths, and I don't like fake deaths. But the quiet moments with Picard and Data are gold.
Yeah.
So now I'm on the fence because I'm like, oh, so y'all gonna give me the fake death now? Okay. But then I'm like, there's this amazing moment between these two characters where you're kind of milking character development that was done back in the 90s, but I'll let that fly. But these actors are still killing it. And I'm like, now I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to. It's like I want to be mad that you fake death me, but then I'm like, these actors are killing it, and this is a touching moment. So it's like I don't know what to do. So that's why I was like, I left off with, let's see what you do. Let's see where you go. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely, I love the idea of like a conspiracy by the Romulans of a kind of like a deep operative inside the. Can we get more of that?
Yeah,
we didn't get that. We barely got it. So there's a couple things where I'm like, season 2, let's see where you go. Because I was like, yo, I'd love to see what the political and diplomatic implications of finding a deep operative inside of the Federation when it comes to the Romulans, because how do you handle that? Do we want an all-out war? Do we want that with the Romulans?
Well, they've done it before.
Are the Romulans going to cop to this? Are they, are we going to have a Cold War with the Romulans? But of course, that's a much longer show, and I understand. You know what I'm saying? I understand when it comes to budgets, Discovery definitely has the budget off of this.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I was like, yo, there's all this interesting stuff that I feel like we just kind of like glossed over. Like the chick, I can't remember the Romulan chick that was like, being all sneaky and stuff. All of a sudden, she with the Romulans, and I'm like, so are we gonna arrest her? Are we just gonna let her leave with everybody? Like, are we like saving that for season 2?
Well, no, you saw Riker was about to light her up.
But still, they let her leave. I'm like, you can't leave. Like, you perpetrated an attack on a whole planet. Like, this is because when we can only kind of like put it on our terms. Like, would this be like, would the U.S. allow, I don't know, any country, Britain, France, Russia, Israel, Iran, China, any of them to do that without any backlash? It just seemed like it was like, all right, get out of here. And she was like, peace.
She was like, this is what. And the Romulans have already been, they've been hurt, so there's only so much you can do. Like you saw when they went to that settlement where Picard walked in like, oh, hey, everybody, how's everything going? And they were just like, you better get your English ass out of here. Or it's like, I was like, Picard, no, just go to the monastery.
Yeah, why is Picard walking around chilling like he's safe?
Exactly. He was speaking Romulan to them, and I was just like, no, dude, these people don't want to. But that's where the Romulans are, kind of at that point. Like, no, they've no, when she walked up in there with her shoulder pads and Riker showed up and said, you better deuces. He's like, you really want to try this?
He's like, I don't know if you really want this. I mean, if you want this, we can do it.
We can do it.
You're talking about a fight that even if you win here, doesn't end here.
Exactly. And you saw, I mean, the Federation has no qualms about saying deuces to the Romulans because of their history with them. They've had a war with them like way back when. So it's been, that part of the series, like them going deeper into the Tal Shiar, because I love the Tal Shiar, the concept of them having a deeper branch, which are almost fanatical, was very interesting to me. So I think a lot of, let's say, traditional Trek fans just want them to trek around the universe, and it's just like there's so many more stories that you can tell, when it comes. And I do think that there are going to be some stories where you do get the traditional Trek. I'm a firm believer that they're going to do a Captain Pike series. Like
I wouldn't be mad at a Pike series. Like I've liked the, Pike. Even Lorca was entertaining to watch. Even though around episode 2 or 3, I was like, I don't know if I'm on board with this guy, and I was right. I was like, this guy's cool and all, but he's a little risky, isn't he?
Yeah.
And now we know why, of course. But I was like, I don't know.
Got body parts and shells and stuff. But yeah.
Oh, no, I'm happy. Yeah, they're doing the series with Michelle Yeoh, who
Section 31.
Yeah, Section 31. Yeah. Like who should have been getting her props for years, but I'm glad she's getting her love in this show or in this universe. And Section 31, when that's a whole nother thing where I was like, oh word, all black suits with the black back. Word, like because that's up my alley.
Let's say dressing all black like the Omen. That's a little bit old.
Yo, man, but people that know, they know.
Yeah, they and Section 31 is introduced in Deep Space Nine, so people do your homework. They've been around for a minute.
Yeah, so just having and see, I didn't know that until I watched the full series because. Deep Space Nine is not a short series, but watching it through, I was like, oh, word, cool. So this is technically a callback because I thought Section 31 was new. And then I was like, oh, no, it's a callback. Cool. I was like, so that show is crazy good. But with all that said, Star Trek, it's great. We love it. With that said, I guess I'll leave with this. When it comes to people that want to get their creator stone, kind of like creator-owned stuff off the ground. And I'm not talking about, people that are like, I'm an aspiring writer and you ain't written nothing. I'm talking about people that have written one or two things but are looking for artists. Can you speak to the process of, you got a project, it's written, or even 3/4 written, and then getting that to artists, to printing, to in someone's hand?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the, once your script is done, and even before then, I always suggest that, start looking at different media, different platforms like Facebook. Facebook is huge with different groups specifically for artists who are for hire. So that's one thing. Check out to see what the rates are. See if it's, if it'll be doable to get. Let's say you go on the Kickstarter route. So I always suggest, trying to, set some coinage aside, pay for, some promotional art, maybe something the first 5 pages. And that way you can have something that you can use to kind of promote the work itself, because if you go to Kickstarter and you just have like a logo and your script, you're not going to get funded. So that's one thing I would suggest. And once you find your art team, budget, what their expenses are going to be, what the rates are, and stick with that. When it comes to building your kind of your Kickstarter goals. Secondly, like if let's say you go that route, you fund your book, pay the art team on time, whatever according to your schedule, and according to the schedule that you set within a contract. And that's another thing. Don't do things by the handshake days, those are done. You need a written agreement. Whatever you do, work for hire agreement, contract, whatever. Don't do that verbal BS. Don't. And then expect somebody to be like, I got you. But, kind of stay focused on, how the art is coming along. By this point, you should already have at the beginning, your colorist, your letterer, somebody to lay out the book. And at a certain point, it becomes kind of an assembly line process. As one part of it is done, you're sending it up, up down the line for it to, be knocked out. And, even at the beginning, you find your printer, get everything, get the book laid out, send it to the printer, and get it done. This is an oversimplification of the process. This is version, but
at least so a lot of people know, because a lot of people think, I just find an artist and the book's done. It's just
no.
They know there's like you write it, and there's like 20 other steps.
Yep, it's
before
writing.
you actually get there.
Right, it's writing the script, pencils, inks, colors, and in between those 4 steps, the book is being edited. I would say, actually, once you get to the lettering part, your book is being edited, so you need an editor. Don't self-edit. Find somebody outside of your family to do the editing on the book, and then it's you send it to the printer, to be. So it's multiple steps. But if you can do like 3 or 4 of those steps yourself, then you're kosher deal. I can't. The best I can draw are stick figures. I can write my butt off, but I can't draw for worth-ish. So, but if I love a triple threat creator. Like Loris, the colorist on Mind to Avenge. He can do colors. He can do lettering, and I just found out yesterday that he can do pencils and inks. Like he drew me a cartoonish version of Layla, and I was like, dude, I didn't know you could draw. It's just like he said, yeah. He said my background is it's just like I have an animation style. I was like, hey, we need to make a Mind to Avenge cartoon with Layla, and she seems so bright, and effervescent, and I was just like the complete opposite of what's in the story, but I love it. But he is like a triple or quadruple threat. Jason Reeves is a triple or quadruple threat. Like he can write, he can draw, he can color, he can graphic design, he can hustle, he can market. The more things that you learn, you make yourself very available, for work. That's something that I need to learn more myself. The writing has done pretty well for me, but I always say that if you can do one thing, do it well. But if you can learn to do many things, and try to do that. There's it's a rat race, sometimes, trying to get these goods. But that's kind of the general process for creating, kind of the basic process of creating books. And there's even a process of writing the script, which could be as involved as any other process. So.
All right, well, cool. I guess with that said, thank you for your time. I know you have been chilling with us for a minute, so we thank you for your time. Thank you for coming through. Before we get out of here, where can the wonderful people find you online? Yeah,
my website is robertkjeffrey.com. That's robertkjeffrey.com. On Twitter, because apparently I don't know how to use Twitter, my username is SYNCHRKJ. I was just like, fuck, use my name. SYNCHRKJ. Instagram is robertk.jeffrey, and it's robertk.jeffrey. And Facebook, just do a search for Robert Jeffrey, and that should pull me up. But if you go to my website, all my social media handles are on there, and I always tell people go to blacksci-fi.com. That's the we give you kind of up to the minute information about our contributions to the world of speculative fiction and STEM.
Word up, that's what's up, man. Black Sci-Fi, you guys check it out. Robert Jeffrey, thank you for rolling through. Of course, holler at us. We're gonna holler at you down in the comments. Let's talk writing. Let's talk the process of getting your book out. Let's talk about Mind to Avenge, RetCon, Route 3. Let's talk about how cool a cartoonish Layla would be.
If I can get the go ahead from Loris, I will definitely share that because it was a beautiful piece of art. And
then if you want to talk Star Trek and all that good stuff, we down too. So before we out of here, thank you for coming through. NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places, Spotify for some music, podcasts, all that good stuff, and dope folks right here on YouTube, and we have an audio feed for you as well. So until next time, this is us to you just saying peace.
The world is cold, the block is hot as a stove.